Happy Friday. It is time to taste. But first, before I get into it, I want to share something with you. Yesterday, I wrote a story for Forbes magazine about the war on moderation. Now, after I wrote that, I received a lot of thank yous and praise from people in the industry, in the spirits industry, in the beer industry, in the wine industry. One of my favorites was the legendary wine writer Karen McNeil wrote some very nice comments about it publicly. And I also got a lot of notes from people who are recovering alcoholics. And I want to say that if you have a problem drinking alcohol, please don't follow me. Please get the help that you need. And I will tell you very much that if you need help, I can give you numbers. There are a lot of good numbers that can help you. A lot of people in the business, in the mental health business, in the addiction business, who are there to help people like yourself who suffer from addiction. It's a very serious issue. With that said, the war on moderation that I spoke of was not in regards to people finding themselves and battling alcoholism. It was about the use of heavy drinking studies to basically dictate what types of policies should be enforced on governments and the people. And that would, at the end of the day, would hurt people like myself and other people who drink responsibly. So I believe that in no way, shape, or form should studies that are basically someone drinking 5 to 6 to 15 shots a day, should that be used to regulate a world that mostly drinks 1 or 2 drinks a day, if that. So the war on moderation has nothing to do with people battling alcoholism and sobriety. It has everything to do with someone trying to take away someone's right to have a little sip of alcohol. Prohibition didn't work once. It's not going to work again. And just because you want to keep a billboard down near a sports field does not mean you're going to have an impact whatsoever on people who have problem drinking. If you really want to solve the issue of people having problems drinking, then educate people on the signs of addiction and educate them on how to drink responsibly. So that is that. We have a very busy day, a very busy night tonight. I took it upon myself to open some boxes. Now, boxes are normally meant for Mondays, but today we are going to open them live here. And I'm also going to taste these Pinhook Ryes. These are fascinating to me because these are some of the very first distillates that have come out of the Castle and Key distillery. Now, these are not the property of Castle and Key. These are actually created by the former owner of Char Number 4 in Brooklyn and Maysville in Manhattan, 2 of the most important, iconic whiskey bars in the current age. And those 2 bars were, in my opinion, some of the big reasons that bourbon made a comeback, because they gave bourbon an audience in New York, which, as we know, if it's not happening in New York, it's not happening. So I can't wait to taste these. And I also threw this little guy on the table, Long Road Gin out of Michigan. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I am a fan of Long Road. They put out an aquavit a few years ago that just melted my palate. I absolutely loved it. Now, I am going to be able to answer some questions and read some comments here as we get going. I got my trusty blade. Joe Rotruck writes, "It was a good article, Fred. It's all about the way the government decides to do what's best for you." That's true. We do have a tendency in this. It's not just the United States. It's in Ireland. It's in Scotland. It's in South Africa. You have all kinds of governments who are basically dictating policy based on a handful of studies that turned out to be false in the first place. So if you haven't read it yet, I will put it in the comment section. You can also go to Forbes.com and just search for my name, and you'll find some of the stories I've written there. So this is from Mondial Media Fulfillment and Retroar. So I am not familiar with these folks. Let's see what we have here. We have a card. Okay. Oh, this is from the Cask Strength, Cask Cartel. Ah, ladies and gentlemen, we have a vodka. We have a a Zodiac Black Cherry barrel-aged rested vodka. Oh boy. Did not see that one coming. So this is part of it. Like you send me something in a box, I'm going to open it, I'm going to drink it. I have a feeling that, I just have a feeling they didn't Google me and vodka. Just a feeling. Okay. It's American made. Okay, well, I mean, that's nice, so at least we know that, someone in America has a job because of this. This is limited release, so that's got to get me excited, right? I mean, it's a vodka, it's limited release, so I know it's got to be good then because it's limited. All right. 70 proof. Hold on a minute. The federal laws. Now, listen, I don't spend my time studying the federal laws of vodka, but I do know that it has to be a minimum of 80 proof. So it says here, black cherry flavored vodka. That's where they got you. To see the flavored categories, they're often allowed to kind of come in under the typical proof. So like flavored whiskeys can be, below 80 proof, whereas like flavored, bourbon cannot be below 80 proof, but a flavored whiskey can be. So black cherry flavored vodka finished in oak barrels. Well, la-ti-da. Let's see what else here we got. Just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Rigby, Idaho. Eleanor Rigby. So maybe reminds me of a Beatles song. And I am Stephen Moore asked, does vodka suck? Yes, it does. Ooh, 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 ooh. Actually, you can't see that sign very well. I didn't place it very well. Patrick Fulmer. Oh, no, vodka might be in jest. It might be, Patrick, but we're going to find out. Joseph Brazil, did I say it right? He says, oh, no, they Googled you. Well, maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Here goes. Yeah, it definitely smells like black cherry. I mean, I like black cherry. And I have said this publicly before. I actually respect flavored vodka more than I do flavored whiskey because vodka's intent is to be flavored. So there's that. And Jessica brings up the good point. She's really into like the psychics and the signs and all that. And it's the Zodiac. I see Zodiac and I think of Zodiac Killer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like this reminds me of like a murderer, which, well played because it's vodka. Okay, so nothing off-putting here. It's just it's black cherry. Ugh. Oh God. Yeah. Okay. Ugh. I just had the Zodiac black cherry vodka finished in oak barrels or something, and it tastes just like cough syrup that I had as a kid. Just like it, the same viscosity, everything. No. But you send me vodka, I mean, you pretty much know what's going to happen. Okay, so let's get to the next box, huh? This box comes from, can't really tell, someone in Sonoma, California. So we got any questions here? Real black cherry, or Joseph asked, real black cherry or flavored? I mean, look, you're asking me to do some research on a vodka here that I just opened up. And I'd like to tell you I'm going to do it, and I'll put it in the comment section later. But I'm not. Just not going to do it. But my gut tells me that it is totally... Well, Benjamin Chapman. Benjamin Chapman. 7-year whiskey. 90 proof. Imported and bottled by 3 Badge Beverage, Indio, California, a product of Canada. So we have a Canadian whiskey here, imported in the States. Okay. Not a lot of information on it. Kilco writes, I'll cure what ails ya, and puts him down, kids to sleep. Bad Kilco. Bad Kilco. You cannot give your children alcohol in today's age. You can go to jail for that. Woo! I like that cork. Nice, smooth edge. In fact, do we have a copy of the magazine?
Yeah.
Woo! I like that cork. Nice, smooth edge. In fact, do we have a copy of the magazine?
Yeah.
My magazine, Bourbon Plus. I've always been fascinated with cork. Cork is this stuff. This is actually sustainable. This comes from bark. They're not cutting trees down. And so I am someone who I'm very much about the environment, but in a sensible way. And I think cork is one of those ways that we can be sustainable and sensible. And I love a good cork. And look at that. Yeah, that's a good cork. Okay. Steve Widener, Cork's Gone Wild edition. Yeah. Why don't you tell everyone where that one came from? Did you ever subscribe to that particular Gone Wild service? All right, Benjamin Chapman, I see what you're doing here. You got a lot of pepper in this bad boy. Lots of pepper, real peppery. I mean, it's like to open up a can of fresh ground black pepper. And then under that, you got some like medicinal qualities, not in a bad way, but simple medicinal, like going into a pharmacy and you can smell that, all those medicines in the air. Jared Freeman writes, Fred, what was the inspiration of your outfit today? Seems a bit too dressed up to sip some black cherry vodka. You got me, Jared. Actually, my inspiration today was it's cold as a motherfucker out there, and this jean jacket really keeps the heat in. It keeps my fat ass nice and warm as I'm walking to the office. Very nice shirt. How about this? Talk about a nice surprise to be brought to me. Benjamin Chapman 7-year whiskey. It's got some of those kind of really nice characteristics that we find in like a lowlands or a space side, and it's got a lot of that like sweet honeyness there to it, like little hints of grapefruit. But then you kind of come back to like some of the more like traditional like Canadian whiskeys from like the 1970s, and it's got that spiciness there. So to me, like whoever put this thing together did a really good job of blending it. This is to be all over, but this, if you're someone who likes Scotch, specifically the non-peated styles and some of the more old school Canadian whiskeys, I think you'll like this a lot. In fact, I'm gonna take this home and sip on it This might become a TV whiskey. Yeah, I like this thing. I'm also fascinated with the color of it. I don't think they added any coloring to it. See, in Canadian whiskey, they can add color, and I don't think they did here. Really nice. Good job, Benjamin Chapman. Good stuff. All right, to the next box we go. Now, make sure you're subscribing. I'm going to be doing these things on a regular basis. And I tell you what, people who subscribe here tonight may get a little something in the mail from me. If you ask anybody out there, I've been known to randomly send books and then tell people I would send books and then forget about it. And then they write back 6 months later, and then I actually send it. But I eventually send the books. But no, I've got some cool new stickers that I've been wanting to send people. So anybody who subscribes tonight, I will mail you one of my new podcast stickers. And you can put it on your garage door or your toilet or wherever. But you can have it. All right, this comes from Nick Nagel, who's Whiskey Acres. Oh, my goodness. Everybody, this is really special. I want you to think about think about like starting a distillery. What is your dream? The dream of a lot of whiskey distillers is to create a bottled and bond bourbon. Now, to make a bottled and bond bourbon, it has to be at least 4 years old, distilled at one distillery in one distilling season. Now, people often wonder why does it have to be one distilling season? Well, here's the thing, is a lot of these whiskeys are basically, some of them are distilled in like the fall, some are in the spring, some are of different ages. This is a guarantee from the government that it's all from that, basically the same kind of batch process. Not necessarily the batch process, but it's from that same season. And the government actually does keep very good tracks of these. So this is a special moment for an Illinois distillery called Whiskey Acres. Looks like we have a little note here from them too. Oh, wow. So we have mash bill. All right, so I'm going to read this to you all so you have an idea. This is batch one, bottle and bond. This was distilled in spring 2014. Excuse me. The crops were planted then, and then distilled, filled 1,400 barrels. So this is 75% corn, 15% soft red winter wheat, 10% malted barley. It's 4+ years, so it's probably a little over than that. They use a sweet mash technique. They're non-chill filtered. All water comes from their local limestone aquifer. So this is fantastic. I actually signed this. Now, as a historian, as a student of the business, I'm going to hang on to this letter and keep it in my archives because this is very special. And here's the thing. I'm all excited for them, but if I don't like it, I tend to be honest. So let's go ahead and take some questions here. Again, thank you. So Gene Veit says he just subscribed. If you're on here now for the first time, subscribe, and you're going to get a sticker mailed to you. It's from the podcast. Chris Frazier unsubscribed and resubscribed. Since he told me that, I don't know, Jessica, should I still send him a sticker?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Don't do that.
But Chris is the last person who can do that. Joseph writes, what was my last strain pour? I don't know. I did have something the other day. I had something that gave me a headache after one taste. All right, Matthew. Matthew Laburde wants a sticker too. He's been, Steve. Steve writes, "You're cheating on your dickies." That's a man who's been watching the show. He knows what I normally drink out of. Okay, so the smell is not winning me over. It smells to me a little bit like Play-Doh, a little bit of construction material, but underneath that is kind of like a baked bread coming out of the oven. So there's hope. There's hope. I just read Brandon Hughley's comment. He said new subscribers get an artificial tongue. That Brandon's like a 1%er. He's like, listen to the podcast. He knows stuff. He knows what's going on. Okay. So here are my thoughts on this. I'm really excited to see a bottle of Bond come out of Whiskey Acres. I'm very excited for them. I'm not wowed by it, but I don't hate it. And it's showing a lot of incredible promise to me. On the palate, I get like I get popcorn. I get like kettle corn. I get a little bit of like an orange marmalade. You know, there's a lot of good things going on here. But this is also my first taste. I'd like to spend some more time with it before I would give like a definitive, comment. But I can definitely say with certainty that it's going in the right direction. And I think it's a huge moment in a distillery's lifetime to come out with a bottle of Bond whiskey. So huge congratulations to Whiskey Acres on this fine accomplishment. This whiskey is going in the right direction for sure. And I'm excited to see what else you all have coming down the pipe for sure. So let's get to the next one. No more boxes. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of a right turn here before I get into the whiskeys. I'm going to drink some gin. Now, most people know me for whiskey, but I'm a fan of gin. I wrote a rum book. I've actually got a someone from I think Michigan is sending me some distilled honey aged in a barrel. I can't wait to taste that. I wrote a book on mead, which is basically fermented honey. It's the oldest alcohol in the world. And there's not a classification for distilled honey. So I can't wait to taste this. He's calling it mel, which was what the Greeks called mead. Joseph writes, isn't gin just flavored vodka? Vodka sucks. Now that's actually a misnomer. Not all lower. For example, Few Spirits gin is is basically in that kind of like whiskey distillations series, and then they age it in barrels. So everyone is different. There's a lot more leeway there. Some people like a lot of juniper. Some people like a little bit of softer gin. But to me, gin is like one where you can actually tell the ability of the distiller, because people often try to mask gin with just throwing in more juniper, and so you get a lot of like overheads or tails in there, and you get kind of like you get a headache the next day. I think is the best way to put it. Eric McFarland, I will answer your question after this taste. So it's floral. It has that kind of like caraway and like a gardeny juniper smell, but it's not overly done. And there's no like off-putting parts from the spirit. Pretty elegant, not too up in your face. Pretty nice, pretty nice. This is distilled from local grain in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I like their saying, we don't source spirits, we source ingredients. I like that. I like that a lot. So this is a gin. If you're a gin fan, I'd recommend taking a look at this, adding it to your collection, especially if you're an experimental person looking in the American gin movement. This has a lot of elegance to it. It's not in your face. It's not overly saturated with shrubs, but it is quite tasty. So big fan of what Long Road is doing. They are really great distillers. Okay, so here comes time for the Pinhooks. Now, these are. See, this is the right on or right humor? Right humor. Here's right humor. This one is. Okay. Just confirming on the bottle. So you're saying this one is the MGP?
Until that's castrated MGP. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is called Rye Humor. This is Pinhook Rye, and of course, you know, this is steeped in horse racing. Obviously, you can tell every one of these are etched unique. They're beautiful bottles. They have a great story, and like I said, you know, the owner behind them was an incredibly important person in the rebirth of American whiskey. So, you know, it's kind of fun to see him getting his time in the sun as a bottler blender. Not only that, this is also like a progressive company. They have they just hired their a CEO who is a up and coming female executive, and I am all about, you know, seeing diversity in this space that's been basically one style of human being for a long time. And I think Pinhook, from a business perspective, has been pushing the envelope in a lot of ways. So I'm excited to taste these guys for live here. Kilco writes, will you be looking into whiskey from the Texas Whiskey event this weekend? I will not be coming to Texas. I was invited. As many of you know, I have 2 young children, and I can't travel like I used to. And you know, I do what I can when I can, but you know, my priority is always going to be my family, and it's hard to get away from them, especially on the weekends. So when you all come into Louisville and you want to come hang out with me, I always do my best, but getting into family time is tough. Let's see, any other questions here? Stephen Moore, I'm rum curious. If I had a choice between Foursquare 2004 and Foursquare 2005, which way should I go? 2005, it's not even close for me. 2004, while nice, was not nearly as complex as 2005. But if you get 2006, forget both of them. 2006 was amazing. Okay, so this is a range of. So this is right here. It says it's 95% rye. Obviously, it's MGP, and this is all over 4 years old. And I'll tell you something, MGP rye, if you just get it and you bottle it, it can taste like shit. I think that is a very difficult rye to blend, and people just think that, oh, I got some aged stock and it's going to be good. And usually, you know, they're right, but sometimes you bottle the wrong 2 barrels together and they get inside the bottle and they fight. And A lot of the MGP ryes that I have had, especially of late, that are being bottled by merchant bottlers, they're not complete. They feel like they're all over the place. And it's like there was like one barrel in there trying to be dominant or something. So the blending is a skill for rye, in my opinion, that takes a little extra attention. So here we go. I'll tell you what, this smells good. This is like getting a little sugar cane, kind of opening up that sugar cane and smelling that sweetness from that right there. A little bit of caramel, some cotton candy. It's nice. Wow. Son of a bitch, that's good. For a 4-year-old rye, this is amazing. It's still going. I'm still feeling it on my palate. It's still going. I mean, it's just dancing along, riding down the path. This is excellent. This is absolutely excellent. Now, what this reminds me of. This reminds me of those 7- and 8-year-old and 9-year-old redemption bottles from like 2012, 2013. They were fat. They had the wax top. And they had like this complexity to them that I hadn't seen in MGP rye or that distillery's rye since. So this is quite arguably one of the best. This is one of the best MGP ryes that I have had since those redemption bottlings a few years ago. This is fantastic. It's rye humor, Pinhook, 114 proof, $69, $59.
I'm gonna go buy the rest.
I'd buy a case of that.
There's not that many.
How many bottles are there?
It's on that paper.
The bottlings are on the paper.
Where's that?
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not that many, but it's good. I almost don't want to go on. Kind of would just sit here and hang with this guy. Let's see, make sure you can see that. It's tasty. You'll see what my water cup is. It's Walt Disney. It's the looks like Donald and Goofy. Mickey and Minnie are making out in the back seat. What's going on? What's going on, Mickey? Okay, so here we go. Now this is the stuff that was distilled. This would have been their like recipe they would have came up with, and it was distilled at Castle and Key, formerly known as the Old Taylor Distillery, the beautiful Castle Distillery. It was aged there, 2.5 years old. This is the first release, and this is actually one of the first products that I have tasted that have been bottled and they were distilled at Castle and Key. So in essence, we have two things going on here. One, you have Pinhook's first like release of something that they kind of like came up with in contract distilled elsewhere. And you have one of the first like public showings of a whiskey coming out of Castle and Key. So this bottle is uniquely important. Huh. Huh. Hmm. Interesting. This is not. It's not the same rye that I just tasted. Obviously. Okay. So from a nose perspective, I want you to imagine going into a sawmill. All right. So you got the wood getting cut over here. You got the piles over there. And then it's raining. It's a rainy day. And you go in the back, and then there's all the piles while the rain's coming down on it. All three of those smells came to my light, and I'll tell you why. It's like, and it reminded me of going on when I was covering the sawmill business for the forestry side of things in the cooperage industry. Very, very unique smells coming out of this whiskey. Very like oaky, but not oak like we're used to. Oak in a processed way. Processed and then wet. Wet oak, sawdust, and then kind of like an aging, like an aging stack of wood. And then earth. So, I mean, none of that's bad. It's just what I smell. On the palate, I'm actually really surprised that this is 2.5 years old because it tastes much older to me. This reminds me of like what Willet tasted like. Some of their first releases of rye tasted like in some ways. It has a little bit of a peanut buttery note there. It has it's very oily. Crackers. So this is just different, and I kind of like this. These are like flavors and aromas that I've not had a lot of time with, and I'm really kind of like perplexed by all of this. It's a very, very interesting rye. And it comes it comes at you like it's going to be over oaked and maybe moldy, and then you get to the palate, and that palate is almost nutty. It's almost peanut buttery. It's just so different, and I didn't really get any of those kind of traditional rye notes that I typically get. That's not good or bad. Just what I'm getting. The final note that I can say that I got for sure is tea. I got a tea note. So like an Earl Grey tea. So slight hint of tobacco. Interesting. Very interesting. So excited to see where this thing goes, for sure.
Getting cocktails.
What's it? It's good.
He said it's like everyday rye that's good for cocktails and stuff.
Yeah. So this is their they're going after the cocktail market with that. I can see this. What's the price point on this guy?
39, I think.
So 39.
Mhm.
30. Yeah, I see that here. $39. Yeah. That's affordable. Go to the store, check that out. But this guy, wait in line and go get it. Someone asked, like, if there's going to be a What's in the Box Monday. That remains to be seen because I will be traveling, and I hope to have time to shoot that. I don't know if I will, but I will tell you, you'll be very excited to see what I end up doing when it's all said and done. What I'm going to be doing on Monday. Yeah, Stephen Moore writes, no marzipan notes. It's true. No marzipan notes tonight. But hey, make sure you're subscribing. Again, everybody who subscribes tonight is going to get mailed a sticker. My podcast sticker. You're going to get a sticker that you can, put on your door, on your car, put it in your neighbor's car, which I wouldn't recommend that. I think that's technically vandalism, and they're going to call me. But hit that subscribe button, and you'll get a sticker. Kilco, I do hope you'll be able to try some more Texas whiskey. Seems to be a boom down there. Yeah, you know what? I've tasted plenty of Texas whiskey, and I think it's. I think they're doing well. I also think that Texas is a very proud state, and they tend to serve their own very well. Matthew Laborde, how do stickers get to us? We'll see. What we'll do here, we will take your address and then I'll put it in an envelope and send it to you. So technically, I'm losing money here, like 30 cents. Wait, what does a stamp cost today? 30 cents? 32 cents? Okay. Eric McFarland, have you tried the most recent Old Forester President's Choice? Has that been released already? I feel like I haven't had that. Oh, yeah, you know what? I did have that. I did have the President's Choice. It was good, but Old Forester 1920 is still my jam. Jared Friedman, I'm working on a sherry finish coronavirus cask at the moment. Interested, Fred? Now, I'm glad you brought up coronavirus because this is a very serious thing right now. And, got to be careful. We just got our first one in Kentucky. So just make sure you're not going around and licking things. I know that's going to be very difficult for you, Jason, or Jared. Also, Jason. If Jason's watching, don't lick things. Steve Widener writes, 32-cent stamp, 1991. Wow. I remember when sandwiches were a quarter. Well, let's see. Ooh, Brandon Hewley trying to Elijah Craig barrel proof at A120 tonight. That's so good. You know what? I lost my thought here. I'm really enjoying this. If Jessica, do you want a little dram here?
Yes, that's my bottle. Yeah.
Oh, this is your bottle?
That's the bottle that I personally purchased.
You bought this bottle?
Yes, with my own money, so you couldn't take it.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Jessica.
I said, when you're done with it tonight, I'm taking it home.
Oh, very nice.
It's so good. I just needed you to try it. I know your palate.
So Eric Smith writes, currently traveling, any bottle up always take with you? I don't really travel with my booze unless I'm interviewing artists or something. I don't do I don't like to travel with my stuff because I don't like checking bags. I usually travel light, you know. Bourbon Sane writes, I see the long road there that is 10 minutes from the house. Hey, man, that's awesome. Yeah, we're a big fan of what they're doing there. Their Aquavit is amazing. The gin is really good. And I think they're doing great stuff. Alan C. will be at Whiskey Fest Chicago at the end of March. Any recommendations for whiskeys for me to try that I otherwise might pass up? Last year I discovered Cavalon and Hibiki. Let's see. What would be something that you might pass up? I would say go look at the Indian whiskey, if there's any Indian whiskey there. St. Paul John is what's the name of it, right? St. Paul John. Yeah, that's really look at the Indian whiskeys. Indian whiskeys with Paul John. I'm in my Pope mode apparently.
Or John Paul.
John Paul.
John Paul.
John Paul. John Paul.
Yeah. Yeah.
So take a look at John Paul from India, and I think you'll enjoy that. Stephen Moore asked if you finished Michter's 20-year-old. No, actually, in an upcoming curation desk, my wife and I finish it. So my wife is one of the upcoming guests on the curation desk. Well, everybody, thank you for joining me on this tasting tonight. It was a blast. I hope you learned something, that we have some great whiskey here coming out of Pinhook and some cool things ahead. Make sure you also check out these guys here. Benjamin Chapman. I really like this. I like this one a lot. Give Long Road Gin some love. They're doing some nice things there. And avoid that vodka that I had. Big time. Again, big to me, the winner of the night, because this is such a big deal in this world, is Whiskey Acres for coming out with a bottle and a bond. Support those guys, everybody, because to come out with a bottle and a bond is a really, really big deal. This was awesome. Make sure you all are subscribing to the YouTube. I also have a podcast out named after me because couldn't think of anything different. Thinking about renaming it, actually. Thinking about renaming the podcast. But you can go to Apple, Spotify, wherever. Just search for my name, Fred Minnick. What I do is I interview musicians. Like I've had the Flaming Lips on live. Just had Green Sky Bluegrass. Lindsay L., who's up for an AMC Musician of the Year. So I've had a lot of great musicians on, and I've got some really big names coming in on the pipe, down the pipe. Someone from Talking Heads, Metallica, Slipknot, lots of great musicians on the way. So make sure you're subscribing to those and subscribing to this. And I am out of here, everybody. Have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Don't lick any trash cans and get coronavirus on me. Cheers. Vodka sucks.